There's a lot to unpack with you. Why you actually started this female-only app and what has then since unfolded.
She just said one day, it was an offhanded comment almost, of like, you really needed a strong female support network in your life. And it was this total light bulb moment. It was my mum who said, why don't we create an app? We were literally just in testing phase. Woke up one morning to thousands upon thousands of men. They were on the app. They'd found it. They were very angry with it and were accusing us of transphobia.
Were they men identifying as men?
They were all actual men. I received an Australian Human Rights Commission complaint alleging gender identity discrimination. We lost the first round and we've had done the appeal and we're ready for that.
This court decision is going to go down as probably one of the most important cultural decisions.
This case is gender identity versus sex. This is just madness. Men can't get pregnant. Like, this is just ludicrous.
When people in those senior positions can't identify what a biological male is or say what a biological woman is, who would have thought in our life would be such a controversial word?
That's what makes it frightening to the public, though. Like, it's frightening.
If you are teaching something that's not fact as fact, then there's a huge problem. This is all man-made. Learned behavior. I can't wake up and be pushing 50 and this has consumed that much of my life.
You're watching the JJ Podcast.
Well, Sall Grover, businesswoman and founder of Giggle, the female-only social media app. Sall, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I haven't done a podcast in ages, so this is like first of 2026. So
bit of fun. It's nice and cash.
Yes, so there's a lot to unpack with you, and I do just want to start right from the beginning. I've been following your story for years now, but for those who don't know Sall Grover and Giggle, just tell us about, first of all, why you actually started this female-only app and what has then since unfolded.
My first career before all of this was in Hollywood. I was a screenwriter, and it was pre-Me Too, which is a movement that very much needed to happen. Hasn't done anything, but it was horrible over there. And I came back in 2018, quite a shell of a person, like sort of early, mid-30s. And I went and did a little bit of therapy, but just because I was angry, I was damaged and blah, blah, blah. And it was during therapy that she just said one day, it was an offhanded comment almost, of like, you really needed a strong female support network in your life. And it was this total light bulb moment for me that I could actually see how much differently, maybe not how things would have played out necessarily, but how my reactions might have been different if I had been able to talk to other women about it. And it was definitely something that was happening around that time when women were all sort of saying these are things that have happened to me. And we're like, how come we haven't been talking about this? Anyway, it was just my mum and I were having a conversation about sort of this light bulb moment I'd had in therapy. And it was my mum who said, why don't we create an app? And at the time it was just going to be a roommate app, like a female-only roommate app, that if you were looking for a roommate, you could, it was just women only. Then when you're putting together a startup or an app or something like that, like they're very expensive and technical to build, you sort of had to make it scalable. So, which was great. It got us thinking, like, what were other things that women would need just each other for? And it really became sort of just creating sort of being able to have a female-only network in the palm of your hand for whatever reason you would want it. If it was for pregnancy, if it was for motherhood, lesbian dating, we had there's so many things. I mean, freelance work. My previous life as a writer, like there were questionable times in that as well. And I was like, well, if you want like a woman electrician or something, we tried to think of anything. Anyway, so 2019, we were building the app, and then February 7, 2020. So we're coming up to 6 years next week. The app was on the App Store and Google Play, just doing beta testing. So a handful of women knew about it. It was full bugs still. We were ironing them all out. All of the security wasn't in. To be able to do a female-only app, obviously, how would you do it? How do you keep men off? And we'd found that there was this AI technology. You take a selfie, it scans likelihood of male or female. We were like, well, we'll just monitor it. Like, so it's human beings. Like, I would never let technology just make all the decisions. So it's imperfect. So that wasn't completely all like switched on yet or anything. Like, we were literally just in testing phase. Woke up one morning to thousands upon thousands of men. They were on the app. They'd found it. They left 1-star reviews. And this is when they were very angry with it. And they called me a TERF and were accusing us of transphobia. And I had no idea what they were talking about. And my mum was just having an absolute nervous breakdown. I mean, none of us are really any people who like conflict or anything, but my mum was very, very upset. I was like, I will look into this. And I can't remember exactly what I did, but I think I definitely like searched the word TERF, whether it was on Twitter or Google, I can't remember. But that's when I found that there were these women all over the world who actually were speaking out, saying that not only are men claiming to be women, which in itself wouldn't be that much of a problem if there was some sort of fringe of society doing that, who really cares, but they were being believed by governments and institutions. And I just had no idea. I literally had no idea. I'd been in a bubble. So I just kept researching and I was like, okay, well, we're sort of cancelled right out of the gate. Any of the organizations we'd spoken to beforehand now wanted nothing to do with us. No media in Australia who had been so excited, like places like Mamma Mia, going, this is just such a great idea, never, ever responded to an email from me ever again. So we were cancelled before we left, we're out of the gate, purely because we knew we did something for women, basically. And I doubled down and said, no, like, this is for women. This is not for men who claim to be women.
When you said before that thousands of men had gone onto the app, were they men identifying as men, or they were, so you were just saying everyone was accessing it? So some of them were men identifying as women and some of them were actual men?
They were all actual men. It's just, I don't know what their identities were. I mean, we didn't ask. I don't know. Some might have claimed to be women or thought of themselves as women. Some might, I don't know. Nor do I care, because it just wasn't for men in any way, shape or form. And so I naively said to Mum, I was like, this will blow over quickly because it's so stupid. There's no way this will go on for long. I didn't know that lots of women had already been fighting for the better part of a decade. So we just made a decision as a startup to tread water, because they're expensive to run, blah, blah, blah. So we just made it as streamlined as we could and just ran with it. And it was sort of fix all the bugs, launched. And we were doing that for about 18 months. And I received an Australian Human Rights Commission complaint alleging gender identity discrimination from an Australian male person who wanted to use the app and had been denied access to it on the basis of being male. And to settle it in the Australian Human Rights Commission, I had to agree to let him on, let all men who claim to be women on, put a sex and gender education, but it could only be re-education, pay him $20,000. And what I think is the most sinister, one of the conditions was monitor the content on the app so that men who claim to be women weren't offended by anything women were saying. So it's like not only wanting to go on it, but control it. And I just said no, knowing that the risk was that it could go escalate to federal court, which is what it did do. And so it became the first sex versus gender identity court case and discrimination court case in the world to weigh up what had more weight in law. Was it biological
protection
sex
of women or
or gender identity? And just because life is bizarre, it is the craziest, most ridiculously named court case ever, which I think has made people think it's not serious. Was the person who took me to court, his last name is Tickle and the company is Giggle, so the case is Tickle v. Giggle, which is just absurd. But so we lost the first round and we are now waiting for we've done the appeal and we're waiting for that. So that's literally the last 6 years of my life right there.
I was literally saying to a friend of mine this morning about how I was coming to interview you, and I said to her that this court decision that I say we because we're all waiting on it is going to go down as probably one of the most important cultural decisions that our country has had to make for a long time. Now, you're still waiting on this decision, but just tell us about some of the other things that have been happening throughout the court cases that you've gone to, because I have, as I said, I've been following you right from the start. I randomly stumbled upon something that you had done, and then I've been following you very closely since. But just for some of our listeners, there's been things like pregnancy protections. You got into trouble for laughing at a mug. So it hasn't been overly the most straightforward case. There's been so many other things going on throughout it. Just give us an insight into some of these things.
Well, okay. So the best way to explain it is that on tier one, level one, this case is gender identity versus sex. And because the legislation that's in play is the Sex Discrimination Act. And so does the Sex Discrimination Act protections still protect women, or has gender identity, which has been put into it, replace everything and effectively make legislation incoherent? And the sort of the bad guys in the corner over here are the Sex Discrimination Commission, Australian Human Rights Commission, who are all in on gender ideology. And then you've got me and Lesbian Action Group over here fighting for the reality of women are female, men can't identify into us, no man can be a lesbian. Not a fair fight, I don't think. I think it's as hard as it is to be on this side. God, it must be hard to have to try and find a way to believably argue that men can be women. But I mean, they are doing it.
They're trying.
They're trying their hardest. So they have come up with some whammies. So I remember the first time it's only just recently in the appeal that it sort of got some media attention, that the Australian Human Rights Commission, who has intervened in the case, that they are arguing that men who claim to be women should have pregnancy protections. Now, they actually said this in round one. So I read this for the first time. It would have been in 2023. I started drinking when I read it. I remember I was like, Catherine Deves and I, we got their submission. She's my solicitor. We were reading through it and we're going, this is just madness. Everything they were saying was crazy. And then we both got to the page where it was like that they could be perceived as pregnant and therefore that was enough to make them a woman in law. So men who claim to be women need pregnancy protections. And we're going, men can't get pregnant. Like, this is just ludicrous that you are the Sex Discrimination Commission is arguing for protections in law for men for something they don't need, while taking away protections for women that we do need. Our own spaces, our own services, our own sports, our own word, like just the most basic thing.
Yeah.
So that's been crazy. I mean, but they've said lots of things. I mean, they have argued that it would be bigoted and transphobic for gay men to deny that trans men are men. I mean, that's talking about women. That's talking about gay men have to accept that women can be gay men. Like, if you just use normal language and you're like, well, that's absurd. But that's what they're arguing in court documents. And it's been such a journey and to wrap your head around it, and you kind of never do, because you go like,
you can't wrap your head around it because common sense has gone out the window. Like, that's what we're dealing with here.
Totally. Sometimes I will just be doing something really normal, like I'll be doing like the washing or something. I just stop and I go, I'm in federal court because I'm saying accurately what a woman is, and they're telling me I'm wrong. Like, sometimes it's been really hard just mentally to cope with it. That being said, at this point, I'm not really like angry or bewildered as much anymore. I am very much at the point where I have zero respect for anybody who is involved in pushing this, because I'm like, there's been enough that's happened around the world with court cases or different political decisions that have been made. They know that this is a losing battle. Also, even if you wanted to go and fight for the protections of the trans/gender diverse community, if people were just going and doing that, people wouldn't stop you. I don't care. If you want to call yourself that, that's fine. The problem is that you're wanting our things replaced with their things, and you're expecting us to just sit back and they know that that's what they're doing. That's why we're fighting back, because it's just, you can't take mine. You can have yours. You just can't take mine. Mm-hmm. The likes of, say, like Anna Cody, or even politicians, where I'm just like, that you haven't stopped and gone, hang on, this is a really big deal and we need to fix this, because women are 51% of the population. Mm-hmm. Or females are 51% of the population. But even if we weren't, but like, we are. And it is such a basic, just truth. And that's the other part when you mentioned like, so getting in trouble for laughing. Do I regret this? No, this is sort of ridiculous. Basically, what happened, I have actually nothing to do with this part of the story other than having to pay the fine. So there was a woman who just, someone who I don't know very well, that was supporting the case. Like obviously I've had to crowdfund it. I mean, it's been well over $1 million in legal fees. And so I've crowdfunded it. And one woman just said, like, I'm going to make T-shirts. And it's like that, like asked if that would be okay. And I said, yes. That was the extent of the conversation. And it was, she made Team Giggle T-shirts that she was selling on Etsy. I had nothing to do with it. She'd also made a candle, and someone else, Tickle, had been on SBS Insight, that show, and he had explained, there's a clip, it goes viral every now and then, that one of the reasons why he discovered he was a woman in his 40s was that he hated the smell of men's change rooms. And so that someone had then made a meme of that, saying, I hate the smell of sweaty balls. And this woman put that meme on a candle. And in cross-examination in the first round of court, Tickle's barrister was trying to establish that I had been involved in making, not only making these candles, but I had sold so many candles that it would have funded my legal fees. I've since found out that at the time, 2 had been sold.
Oh.
And I didn't know anything about them. I hadn't advertised them, promoted them, anything. And in court, she asked if I would turn to the court book, and there was just this big picture of the candle. And I laughed, but like literally just how you just laughed just then, that was the extent of my laugh. And I just immediately apologized. I said, I'm so sorry. It was the absurdity of the situation. You're in federal court, you're seeing this. It's funny. Like, it's objectively funny, I think. If someone made a meme of me, I mean, I'd be able to laugh at it too. Be like, especially if I was sitting in federal court and looking at it, I'd be like, why am I looking at memes in federal court? This is absurd. And so I laughed for a second, and the judge in his decision, aside from saying sex is changeable, he said again that I had caused offense by laughing, and that it was awarded Tickle damages of $10,000. And it's part of our appeal, obviously, because, so this is where the case gets even bigger, is that, okay, we've got women's rights, we've got truth and freedom of association and freedom of belief. If you shouldn't actually, damages are supposed to be awarded based on the discrimination. And me laughing in court is not on the basis of the discrimination. Like, that's not like, loss of income or something like that. Also, witnesses in court cases you're supposed to sit there and tell the truth. And your truth can also be a reaction. It could be crying or it could be laughing. And to be then punished for that changes the Australian justice system, because why would anybody be a witness ever again? Now suddenly witnesses are punished for, if not telling the truth, reacting truthfully. They also want me punished for saying that he's a man in 50 interviews, but it's many more than that, and I'm not. That's the premise of the case. So
yeah, you can't suddenly halfway through the case start referring to him as a woman when the entire case has been about the fact that you've been saying he's not a woman.
Well, I mean, the case is, the case is that I'm saying he's not a woman. It's like if I went out to explain what the case is and was calling him a she, it would be very bizarre, wouldn't it? Or say, oh yeah, he's a woman, but not, is it? No. And I think that he should have the right to wear whatever he wants and call himself whatever he wants? Yep, 100%. I wish you well. I hope you have a great life. You just can't force anyone else to believe something that is objectively not true. And it is objectively not true that men can become women in any way, shape, or form. Go live your best life, calling yourself whatever you want. I don't know how much nicer I can be about this.
Well, you just mentioned previously Dr. Anna Cody, and she made headlines recently when she was in a Senate inquiry and she couldn't answer the question of what a biological male is. And I watched that, Sal, and I just thought, where the direction that society is headed in, how can we possibly move forward or, I don't know, change things when people in those senior positions can't identify what a biological male is or say what a biological woman is? Words, as you alluded to previously, the word of woman, who would have thought in our life would be such a controversial word? But how can we facilitate change when we have people like Dr. Anna Cody in positions like the Sex Discrimination Commissioner? She's supposed to be protecting our rights, but she can't even define what we are.
Completely. I don't think that people in positions of power who are pushing this ideology actually believe it. They're lying. One, because it's so stupid that you just can't possibly believe it. It's so absurd.
That's what makes it frightening for the public, though. Like, it's frightening that they're just carrying on this lie, and they...
Because I think there's a lot of people in positions of power in the public sector especially who will do or say anything to keep their position.
Yeah.
They care about themselves, not what they are supposed to be doing. I think that some of these people, if they were they're told to say like they don't know what a biological man is, they will say it. So long as they keep their position, they will say it. If they were told to cluck like a chicken, they'd cluck like a chicken.
Mm.
So this is why, going back to what I said before, I have no respect for them. When you see some people in politics or in the public sector who do actually speak up, and especially when it's unpopular, and go and actually do try and do something, the few that there are, even if I don't agree with them, I have a lot of respect for that at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, you will go against party, or you will go against the zeitgeist, or whatever. You will go, hang on, that's not true, or that's not right, and I'm going to speak up. And that's what really, at the end of the day, someone in that position should be doing, because there's no point to them unless they're doing that. But do the right thing, basically, and the truth. So, yeah, I mean, at the moment, with, say, someone like Anna Cody, who, I mean, it shouldn't be a shock to say I have not a nice thing. So she might be a lovely person, I have no idea, but I've been given no reason to think that she's good at her job. That's all I'm criticizing, is her and her role. I think she's very, very bad at it. Do I think that they could find someone worse? Yeah. So sometimes it's like just, we know what we're dealing with here at the moment. That she, it's not just her. It's organizations like Equality Australia. They intervened in the case as well. They are the country's, one of the biggest LGBTQI plus organizations in the country. They intervened specifically against Lesbian Action Group and stood up there for 10 minutes in federal court and said that sex is a spectrum. That's not binary. Now, how Equality Australia got their start is advocating for same-sex marriage, something I am completely in support of. But now they're saying sex is a spectrum. They're grifters. And they're using it. They are. We've done the research. 80% of their money goes to wages. They're paid activists, and they're going out there and they're going into schools. They're going in some government-funded media to spread this ideology, and it's dangerous. I mean, I think you can believe it if you want. Okay, fine, but I think that we need, especially in this country, we need to have more of an open dialogue of the people who oppose it, because I think that's one of the things that's really hindered Australia. We have such a captured fourth estate that's, other than Sky News and The Australian, I mean, we really free media who is accurately covering this.
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting, isn't it, that they're such advocates for, like, honey, speak your truth. Like, the truth of that individual is so powerful, but then we come out and speak the actual truth. That's now a problem.
Yeah, it was so funny when I got to do, I was on the project 6 weeks before it went off the air. It's like, God. But they were one of the ones that, the project was one of the ones that got back to us before we'd gotten cancelled. So this is towards the end of 2019. So yeah, but it was towards the end of the working year that they were like, yep, next year, like when you're launching, we'll have Sall on, like this will be really, really great. And then never heard from them again until one day last year, my phone just rang. This guy was so lovely. He's like, I'm a producer from the project. Will you come on to talk about the Four Women of Scotland case? Because the UK court had just ruled that men can't be women in law. And I was like, I've waited 5 years for this phone call. Like, of course I will come on. And the cameraman was lovely. The producer was lovely. Everyone was lovely. The host was so rude. And and there's a clip of it. Anyone can go and watch it. It's on my Twitter. It's online. And I couldn't understand why they were doing it, because all they were so hostile to me that all they did was gave me an opportunity for 10 minutes to be the calm, reasonable person in the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why? I'm like, you don't have to agree with me. Like, that's fine. And I would love to talk to more people who don't, because I think it's important to have these conversations and find out that, like, both sides aren't like horrible people, that we just have a, just difference of position. But yeah, when you're just sort of so hostile to someone, it was just like, I took the win. Thanks.
Yeah, totally. Sal, you touched on something just a minute ago that I'd like to go back to. You mentioned schools, and you mentioned, obviously, we can have a conversation like this, and a lot of this is, humorous in some ways and absurd and all those things. But at the end of the day, you also said that word dangerous. So just talk to us a bit about that. I know that in Victoria especially, there's a lot, they say far more progressive, and that seems to be where a lot of this stuff starts. But I mean, there's been stuff recently about children being taught what they can do or what they should do if they're born in the wrong body. I mean, I don't know why we're telling 5-year-olds that they're born in the wrong body, but
I have a 3.5-year-old, and it's funny. I mean, when you're actually watching them grow up and learn things, she, in terms of even pronouns, like, she has no concept that for some reason she doesn't know he or his. So we've got like a little nephew who's 1, and she refers to him as her. She thinks that's what. That's just because she's 3.5. She doesn't know anything yet. She's learning. It's terrifying what's being taught in schools. I was thinking about this just recently, actually, and I think this is one of the things. This is going to be the hardest thing to undo. There is an entire generation that literally thinks that sex is a spectrum, that you can be born in the wrong body, or men can be women. That this is just settled fact. They've been taught it.
My husband always says that in 100 years from now, people will look back and this will be a crazy, absurd period of time that people go, what were they thinking?
For me, as a mum, I think about this from this angle all the time. I'm really hoping a lot of this is fixed by the time my daughter is in school. But there are kids, obviously. I mean, there's kids, it's the 27th of January. Kids are starting back at school today for the school year. But I think this is a time where parents have to be more invested in the curriculum than ever before. There's 2 things you can do. You can inoculate your kids in the sense that you can teach them the facts at home. And are you then putting them in a situation where they're questioning sort of these people of authority in the school system that they should be able to respect and trust to be telling them the truth? Yeah, but if that person isn't, they shouldn't be respected, is my opinion. It's not just this in schools. I mean, if you taught religious education in the science room, I would have a problem with that. If you taught astrology, it's like, you can reference it if you want as a belief system in other subjects. But if you are teaching something that's not fact as fact, then there's a huge problem. But as I said before, you've got these organizations, ACON, Equality Australia. They're going into schools. They're going and getting them as young as possible to tell them to encouraging kids to ruminate, basically.
Yeah.
Which is the most unhealthy thing you could possibly do. Like, am I born in the right body? What is my gender identity? Am I really a girl? This is what kids are told is normal questions. No one actually has these normal instincts to do this. This is all man-made, taught, learned behavior.
And especially at a time when children can be vulnerable when they're going through puberty, instead of having proper discussions of what's happening, it's, I think I identify as a boy or a girl. But it's also the stuff they're seeing on social. I saw the most bizarre thing, Sal, this was doing the rounds on Twitter. It was on Instagram.
Horrific.
So it was a trans woman who was being celebrated for working up to 37 weeks of a simulated pregnancy. Now, this was happening because they wanted to address gender dysphoria about not being able to carry a child. But the comments on social were all like, well done, you're doing it. And I thought it almost mocking real life women that actually are carrying a baby at 37 weeks in their tummy going to work. Because I know we're all parents, we have worked right up until, 39 weeks, and that's just what we do. But when you're out there celebrating a stimulated pregnancy, it just blew my mind.
There was one guy who did it, I think he was in Canada, and simulated the pregnancy and then a stillbirth. And that was all yeah. That was all part of the role play. And so then he went through the grief of, and everything was fake. I mean, yet this is a really easy question to answer. At what point do you stop indulging people's delusions? At the beginning. People say it, they say it to me all the time. Why can't you just be kind? I'm sorry. The cruelest possible thing that you can do is to indulge someone's delusion. Don't do any other context. In this, we've just been told that it's kind. 30 seconds of thinking will make you realize that it is not kind at all. The kindest thing you can do to a man who's telling you that he's a woman is to say, no, you're not. Maybe, sorry, if it makes you upset. I don't mean to make you upset. You're not. You can express yourself how you want. You can wear whatever you want. If you want to be a feminine man, you're welcome to be. If you're an autogynephile who gets off on the idea he's a woman, look, whatever floats your boat, do it in the privacy of your own house, like any other adult paraphilia fetish. No one can police what consenting adults do behind closed doors like that. I don't want to know about it. I don't want to participate in it. Like, that's the compromise. That's, as a society, you just be like, look, we can't control what's in your head. We can't control what you do, how you express yourself, and you're welcome to do it. You just can't make up new rules about society, about biology, physics, anything. It's not yours to do. You have a bizarre ideology. Have fun with it over there. It should go back to the fringes of society. There's one, and I don't think she knows that I would use she, her pronouns for it, but I know a woman who claims to be a man. We talk quite frequently, and she sort of got involved in this about 25 years ago, and so that she knew it was a questionable kind of life choice and thought that she would be in the fringes of society and was quite happy to be there. That's kind of why she did it. It was this alternative lifestyle, so to speak, and now that's not what it is anymore.
I think whether you love him or hate him, one of the things that Donald Trump has done that was very good for women and women's sport was signing that executive order that whatever you are born at birth is what you then can go and participate in sport. And then we saw the UK ruling in the Supreme Court of the definition of what a woman is. What is it that you think, why is Australia so far behind in judgments like this? It just makes it so clear if you can just say whatever you are born at birth is what you then are when you go to change rooms or when you're participating in sport, or that's where you go. I don't know why Australia is so far behind.
And we could have led with this. The Tickle v. Giggle decision would have came out just mere weeks, days before Donald Trump actually started actively campaigning on this issue, and just over 6 months before the UK Supreme Court decision. We could have led the way. We ran in the opposite direction, which is just so depressing. I mean, we have the fourth estate, like the media here, that is just pathetic. I think, well, not all of it. I mean, as I said, the Australian and Sky News have been quite good on this issue, especially the Australian in the last year has become quite magnificent on this. They weren't before that, but a few journalists, Rachel Baxendale and Stephen Rice in particular, have really learned the issue and now expressing it really, really well. Sky News has been great for a while, but the fact that in our small media pool that there isn't a lot that are willing to have the conversations. I mean, like the ABC will not only won't talk to Lesbian Action Group, they won't report on it. If you only get your news from ABC, you don't know anything about Tickle v. Giggle, but you really
don't know anything about a lot of things. If that's where the only place you're getting your news.
Seriously. But they have no idea that the L in the LGBTQ is in court and Equality Australia is against them. And of course the ABC can't report on it. And they don't want their readers to know. Like, we know why they're not doing it. The whole thing falls apart. So they've got to keep people in the dark. And so why Australia? Why are we in the dark? I think that overall there's complacency that Australians do have, a political complacency. Everyone's getting a little bit more engaged at the moment. There's obviously things that have happened, like really tragic things that people are really starting to speak out or take to the streets. Like, that's something that's more frequent and more prevalent in like the States or even the UK. Like the UK, I think some of the most switched on political citizens in the world.
We often follow their trends, and one of the things that's really taking off in America now is like a tomboy society. Do you follow it online? I follow a number of their pages because I mean now I can be quite a feminine woman, but I was an absolute tomboy as a child. Like, and I still do a lot of I'm a soccer player and I'm a drummer, and like if I can ride bikes and climb trees and I drink beer and love fishing and sport.
I have a complete cross reference of interests as well. Like, yeah, whiskey drinking runner who watches football. Yeah.
I hope that movement encourages young girls in school now to know that, hey, I can really like these things and associate with these things and not be trans.
Well, Sal, I also just wanted to get how this has been for you personally, because this has been going on for 6 years. You're up in the millions in terms of legal fees and what this has cost you, but also the backlash you've received, and being a very visual, vocal person comes with some of the dark side as well. Just tell us about what this has been like for you and your family.
It's been like, some of it has been really hard. I'm over it at this point. Like, I want my life to go on. Like, 'cause the app's been offline for, God, what year are we in? 2026. It's been offline since 2023. No, 2022. Gosh, it was a month after Belle was born. Gosh, your entire life. It's going to be relaunched soon. We're just waiting on the decision, because whether it's going to be, we might have to just block it in Australia until, but as I've always said, I'm happy to go to the High Court with this. That's what we have to do. But if it is going to the High Court, I'm going to have to launch the app internationally and do what I can there, because I think I will lose my mind if this is, because I'm bored, and I can't wake up and be pushing 50 and this has consumed that much of my life. I'm a single mom. I have to provide for my daughter. I don't get paid for anything that I have done in any of this. When they say that, that's the trans activist thing, you're a grifter. And I'm like, I really wish at this point it would make life a lot easier. In terms of like the comments, or like, I don't really care if people think I'm an horrible person or whatever. I really don't, because it is so rare that you actually are 100% right about something. Like, most of the time we exist in society like with the humility that our opinions could be wrong. I'm not wrong about this. It is physically impossible for men to become women. Nothing will change that. And so I just sleep soundly knowing that this ridiculous thing fell in my lap that I could have the confidence to be completely right in. But there's lots of other political issues that are happening at the moment where I'm like, I can see both sides really clearly. And it's like, oh, who's more right on any given day almost? This is just not that. That's why it's just been such an assault on people's like critical thinking and intelligence. But yeah, I mean, it's been hard. I mean, I feel better recently, like since it was when the appeal hearing finished, I physically felt weight lift off my shoulders, like that moment when they said court adjourned, because I was like, I have done everything I could possibly do. I fought as hard as I can. And I then was sort of able, like, I'm trained to do a half marathon at the moment. Like, we're getting, like, the new app was like amazing and beautiful and better than the last one, and I'm getting ready to sort of work out the next phase of that. So lots of fun things that are happening in the background in that respect. And I get this week, I'm very excited. I'm going to meet Martina Navratilova this week. So I'm very, very excited.
Oh, yes.
New little perks that like happen along the way. Like, and I'm a huge, huge, huge tennis fan. Like, I'm obsessed. So the fact that I could go and meet someone like her is, you go like, well, that wouldn't happen if we weren't both speaking out on the world's stupidest issue. But at the same time, the days have been very long and stressful. I still have $500,000 in legal fees I have to pay. If we go to the High Court, it's going to be another $1 million. All the while, yes, it's like this is just government corruption and institutional capture, and that they've left this, or that they are ignoring it, and that have just happily left it to a private citizen to fix. Like, you don't even have to. You could completely disagree with me, but still go, oh, hang on, a private citizen shouldn't be the one sorting out this legislation. And so the fact that the government hasn't just come in and been like, actually, yeah, legislators should be fixing this. It's just baffling.
We have Julia Gillard in 2013 to thank for this mess all unfolding. But no doubt your daughter will look back on this time, though, and see you as such a fighter, because you could have just stopped and taken the easy way and let the rights erode.
That was part of why, I didn't. Because I was 15 weeks pregnant when I got the AHRC complaint. And when I was deciding to not settle, because I would never settle for what they were saying, I was sitting on my balcony and I was in third trimester. I think it was just the beginning of third trimester at this point. And I was like, well, I knew I was having a girl because sex isn't assigned at birth. And I was like, at some point, I'm going to have to teach this little girl to stand up for herself. Mm-hmm. And if I back away from this now, how do I teach her that even if it's really hard, you still have to stand up for yourself and what's right? Or even if it feels impossible, you still have to do it. So to me, it was, in that respect, a decision to be made that was a mothering decision as much as anything else.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sall, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We'll be keeping an eye on the outcome of this case, because this will be a really important decision for our society.
100%.
And federal court opens next Monday, 2nd of February. So anytime from then.
Thank you.
Thanks for chatting with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the JJ podcast.